Unit 2 Algebra. And we're going to start with part 1 of 2.1. We're going to look at notation. Right, what makes algebra different? The fact that we use variables. So what is a variable? It's exactly what the word says. The value can vary. So variable means we don't know what the value is, or we want the value to be able to change for different situations. So we put in a variable. So if we look at this situation, if I do 4 plus 4, I know it's 8, which is the same as 2 times 2. If I do 5 plus 5, it's 10, which I know is the same as 2 times 5. You get the idea. If I keep doing this forever, what am I saying? A number plus itself gives me the same answer as 2 times the number. So if we wrote this in algebra, we would say a number plus itself, so it has to be the same variable, is the same as 2 times that number. But in algebra, we leave out the times sign. We just write 2x. Because the x is a variable, it's a letter, there can be no confusion. We know that that just means 2 times x. Okay, let's look at just a few. It would be recommended that you look at your notes for all the ideas. I'm just going to give a few of the notations. Remember what we meant by sum of? It meant plus. So if I have sum of two numbers, but I don't know what they are, I have to write one letter plus a different letter. Here's an important one. Product of two numbers. So again, I must use different letters. It is the same as x times y, but we generally just write xy. So xy means x times y. It means a number times a number. But xy is the same as yx, because we know that any number times a different one. For instance, 3 times 6 gives you the same answer as 6 times 3. Here's another one. Sum of a variable and 3. So the variable, again, it can be any letter. It doesn't have to be x's and y's. I can make it p plus 3. So 3 is what we call a constant, since it constantly remains the same. Right, let's look at an algebraic expression. An expression doesn't have an equal to sign in it. So an expression just consists of a lot of algebra. And we're going to have a look at all of these things. Right, so there's an expression. First of all, this expression consists of terms. Plus and minus separate terms. And these things are important for when you start doing operations with algebra. So this is a term. The next term, we must always remember to keep its sign with it. So each one of these are terms. The one with no variable is called the constant term. Right, what are my variables here? X and Y are the variables in this expression. Yes, I have an x to the 4 and a y to the 2 and an x to the 5, but remember x to the 4 just means x times x times x times x. So the variables are just x and y. Let's look at something else. We said all of those are terms. If I ask you what is the third term in this expression, then you've got to keep the sign with it. Minus 3y squared. The sign to the left sticks to it, it never changes. You could swap them around and write it in a different way. So you could write the x to the 4 first. Then you could write the plus a half. Then plus 2x to the 5, because remember this plus is implied. And then your minus 3y squared. But the minus must stay with the 3y squared. The sign must stay with it. Right, we can only add or subtract like terms. What do we mean by like terms? Like terms must have exactly the same variable part. Not just the same variable part. So, for example, if I had 1/3 x squared yz, and I had minus 2yzx squared, and I had 0.6 zx squared y. They are all like terms. They all have an x squared, a single y, and a single z. Right, that's as far as we're going for part 1 of 2.1.